So hi Mark, thanks for coming in to chat. So my first question is, do you think censorship is getting worse, and do you think the kind of online cancel culture of authors and books is just the new book burning?
It is. It's just completely unacceptable. It's a fascist dictatorship that we're living in where we can't express ourselves freely anymore. My YouTube channel got taken down 2 weeks ago with 63,000 subscribers, 14 years worth of material, 700 odd videos just gone overnight. And we're getting this from other platforms now, Facebook and Twitter, but the less obvious ones are starting to censor as well. I've had people complaining to me about WeTransfer and Dropbox are getting rid of clients who are sharing material that they don't particularly want shared. So that tells you that they're all controlled ultimately by the same forces who are trying to prevent certain narratives from getting out. So censorship is happening on free-speaking individuals who wish to communicate truth to empower others, but censorship is not happening where it should, which is in mainstream music output. When you listen to the sort of stuff that teenagers are now able to access and are listening to on their mobile phones, I hear it from my daughter's phone, it's completely disgusting, it's completely morally debased. I'm not coming at this from any kind of Puritan religious viewpoint or anything like that. I'm just coming at it from the point of view of a parent and of a responsible adult of a certain age. The sort of stuff that's allowed out in mainstream music now is absolutely outrageous, and it's obvious that it's there to subvert moral values. It's obvious that it's there to corrupt susceptible young minds, hearts and souls. So the censorship is happening where it shouldn't, but it's not happening where it should.
So that moves nicely on to my next question, which is, do you think any speech or writing should be censored, and why?
It depends on the audience. So if it's on a platform like TikTok, for example, which is obviously aimed at kids and teenagers or young adults, I don't know why mature adults would have any business going on TikTok. It's not aimed at them. So material on platforms such as that, where it's known that the target audience is going to be children or very young teenagers, an argument can be made there for certain material not being allowed out and being accessible by those groups. Beyond that, I would say that anyone has the right and the freedom to express themselves in any way they choose. And then it's down to the individual hearing that information to judge what they choose to do with it. But when it's young people's minds at stake, and their worldviews are being formed for them by other parties, then I think it's outrageous that certain platforms are able to push some of this toxic material their way.
What's the last controversial thing that you read?
See, it's very difficult for me because I've been researching these subjects for so long that something that a regular mainstream audience would deem controversial to me isn't, because I feel like I've seen and heard it all. It's very difficult to faze me anymore. It's very difficult for me to read something and think, wow, that's terrible, because I've probably heard it 100 times before. We're probably going into the very unsettling realms of the adrenochrome industry here, if I'm honest. You know, some of the information that's come my way through researching that, very grudging research, it's horrible to have to immerse yourself in that stuff. But again, if it's happening, if it's real, it needs exposing. Otherwise, it's never going to stop. So material related to that is controversial and is quite terrible.
Definitely. And the last question is, what is your favourite book, or a book that had a profound effect on your life?
Well, the books of David Icke got me started in all of this, specifically Human Race, Get Off Your Knees. I read that in 2010. And that really lit a fire under my arse to get out there and start writing books and doing talks myself and sharing the information that I'd come across. So that was influential. But I would say the single book that has affected me more than any other would be Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. I read that book in 1995. I don't agree with Graham Hancock on everything that he outlays in that book, specifically his view on our cosmology. We differ on that. But in terms of human civilization being much older than we're led to believe and coming from different sources, that information really blew my mind. And I read it in 95. I think I got it for my 25th birthday. And I was in New York. I remember reading most of that book in my hotel room, which was very high up, like 20 stories up or something. And I was looking out of the window over all the high-rise skyscrapers in Manhattan. And in the book, he was talking about this magical date as foretold in the Mayan calendar of the 21st of December 2012, which was supposed to be the end of one Yuga cycle and the beginning of another. And from that book, I interpreted that date as being associated with chaos and destruction. And I remember looking out at these skyscrapers and thinking, wow, what if these are no longer here one day? What if these get wiped out in some kind of cataclysm? And I remember making contingency plans to be at the top of a very tall mountain on the 21st of December 2012. So if there were tidal waves and mud floods or whatever, I'd be higher up, escaping all of that. I wasn't. I can't even remember what I was doing on the 21st of December 2012, but obviously that date came and went. But that book had a very major effect on me in terms of putting those ideas into my mind. And I just remember thinking, if I can one day write a book that affects other people in as profound a way as this book has had on me, then it will be a life well spent.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and
Sure.
that's everything.
Okay.